I've played with these LLMs and off, and I'm sure so have you. And it's just, again, there's a huge potential. We are like years ahead of where we were a little bit ago, but it's still very much a you know well-educated parrot.
Jose, we're back. Season 2, buddy.
Hey Brian, season 2, man. It only took us a little over a year to to get back to it, but here we are, energized, back from Insights. What have you been up to?
We can tell everyone that we've been practicing on how to podcast better, but they might figure out that that's not true.
I don't know about you, but I'm a seasoned professional now.
Seasoned professional. I got to do a recording with Epicor Insights, and they gave me some tips about looking at the camera, not looking at the camera.
Right.
Yeah,
Nice.
fun
Yeah,
stuff.
you got to see what's it, Bear Grylls for like
I
5 seconds? How
I
was
got to
that?
meet Bear Grylls for about 3.2 seconds. I was in line right in front of all the executive team from Epicor, so they're sort of like, "Move along, buddy." So
Yeah, his talk was interesting for sure. It's nice to see that he recognizes the people he works with.
yeah,
I was a little leery about that. I was like, is he gonna come in there and be like, oh, I do everything on my own? But he was very upfront, and I
yeah,
I
he
like
was
that a
honest.
lot.
Yeah, I liked when he was talking about how he goes up the mountain, but his crew has to do that with 40 pounds on their back, going backwards with three cameras in their hands. So
Yeah, that
yeah,
is impressive to say the
maybe they
least.
were special forces also.
They probably were.
Probably were.
So our event was pretty awesome this year. I was really excited about that. We didn't expect as many people as showed up.
Right.
It was a little bit scary there for a moment, but it was pretty incredible to see that many people come to the event and have a good time together.
Yeah, luckily the space could accommodate everyone. That grew really fast. That went way beyond what was registered, and we had some sponsors, and we'll talk about that. But the sponsors brought in some people too. And overall, I thought it was fun. I mean, I was running around just trying to make sure that we were taking care of everything, but I got to enjoy it toward the end. But yeah, I think we had like 200 people there, which is like 10% of the conference. So that was
Yeah,
fun.
no, that's pretty big, pretty significant. Hopefully next year we can do it, bigger or better. Although Vegas is a little harder, so well, we'll see what we can do.
Yes.
Um,
Well,
you know,
we have an event planner who volunteered to help do that next year, a professional event planner. So
there you
cross your
go.
fingers, hopefully that works out.
This is why we love our community because we always have, people that can do things and they volunteer to do it, and that makes it easier for us. So
That's true.
that's always a good time.
That is true.
We had our awards officially, official award ceremony this year, which I thought was pretty cool. Um, we had, we handed out 3 awards. And so the way that we've been doing that over the years, I just want to make sure that, kind of our audience and our community knows is, we look at participation on the forum, we look at posts, we look at solutions, we look at interaction in the community. There's a lot of statistics that we can see on the back end about who's most active, who replies the most, who gets the most likes and attentions. And so that's how we came up with the awards. We basically took our top 3 members that were not part of the moderator crew, of course, and gave them some awards. The first one went to Tim Shoemaker, as our most valuable community partner. He really has been a cornerstone for us in the community from an Epicor standpoint, fighting our fights for us. He got us unlimited votes in ideas, and that alone earns him the MVP award right there.
Yes. I every time I see Tim at Insights, I always thank him for being the voice of the customer. I really
Yeah,
feel that he's embraced that role there, and I think that Epicor really has embraced his role with that also. So it's hats off to Tim. He's done a great job in representing, a lot of this. They're going through a lot of change with, Kinetic and browser first and all that. He's done a really nice job of, slowing down Epicor at times too with how their upgrade cadence and things like that. So
yeah,
thanks to
he
Tim.
really fights for the community, and that makes a huge difference. So congratulations to Tim for being our MVP community partner this year, and looking forward to hopefully having a different partner next year. Or, Tim is always welcome to earn that award as many times as he wants. He's certainly earned it with us. Um, we
We
also
could
had
cast
Greg.
that out there as a challenge, Jose. See if anybody wants to try and take that on.
That's right. Yeah. Try and take Tim down in a good way, though.
Yes. Yes.
We also had Greg Payne from CompuLink. He got the most solutions, MVP for the most solutions awarded. Again, unfortunately, Greg hurt himself pretty badly before the conference, and we didn't get to see him
Yeah.
there this year. But we got Chris Conn to deliver his award to him. So he's gonna get that pretty soon, and we're looking forward to seeing him next
I
year
think we
at the
got him on
Insights.
FaceTime during the event too, so he was able to at least see and hear the round of applause for him. So
Yeah, he did. So
Greg
we
Greg
really
does a nice
appreciate
job
Greg.
of
Yeah,
reading through some of the questions and kind of being a good at the solution because he understands some of these questions. And we know that some of the questions on the forum are sometimes hard to decipher and understand exactly what people are trying to do, but he's been pretty helpful for everybody.
oh yeah, Greg's been around forever. Him and I go back to back when I was doing independent consulting back in the day. He's been a community member back in the Yahoo groups for a long, long time. So we really appreciate his participation, and well earned award for sure.
Yep.
And last but certainly not least, we had Kevin Lincecum from Mid South Extrusion, and he earned the MVP all around community member. Um, what's interesting? Like Kevin was, I think it was last year when I first met Kevin, and he hadn't really been around that much. Like he's been at Mid Southwest for 22 years, I think is the last, well,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yep.
But he hadn't really been around the community for very long. And then he started participating, I think last year or the year before, and he's basically taken over as the top, participant in almost all categories for us. And he's made a huge difference. He's made a bunch of tools that everybody appreciates and loves. So he definitely earned that award this year for sure. We're gonna
He's
see
a
if we
lot of
can.
fun to hang around with at Insights too. If you haven't had a chance to catch up with Kevin, I highly recommend spending a few minutes with him. He's a fun guy.
Absolutely, he's a great guy, super fun, down to earth. We had a great time this year and last year too. So congratulations to Kevin and
Yeah. Well, hats off to Kevin. Well deserved. All
yeah,
all three awards well deserved. They got some nice trophies this year. Hope they present them proudly in their office.
yeah, absolutely. We actually started displaying the ranking now on the site. That's something new that we started displaying on the leaderboards. So throughout the year, you can see where you stand in the rankings. It's a little sad that it won't be a surprise necessarily at the end. Maybe we'll take it down like a month before, so that it may or may not be a surprise. But we added a little bit of a gamification to it, where you can earn points based on likes and solutions and topics and participation overall, just to bring up the fun, bring up the level of challenge, and hopefully bring up the participation from some of our members. We have a lot of members that are just lurkers, right? They're looking, they learn, they
Right.
read, they certainly appreciate the community, but we want that engagement to go up so that we can get more experts in a variety of fields, right? Our community leans a lot towards the technical, but there's a lot of help that can be acquired out there for just functional stuff, general IT stuff, general ERP in you know purchasing, procurement. We have P21, we have all these other products that are also starting to creep into our community. We want to make sure we get participation from those. So hopefully making the awards and the leaderboard public so that everybody can kind of see where they stand, they can start competing with each other, will generate more engagement there.
I'll have some fun with it too.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we have a new post about that that explains it too, so that's on the forum.
Yep, that's on the forum now. So, we'll make changes and we'll tweak as it goes, but it should be fun. Looking forward to next year for sure. Of course, we have to make sure that we mention and we thank our sponsors for this year's event. The event was huge, and we wouldn't have been able to do it without some sponsorship, right?
Absolutely.
It's just a couple of us running a forum on the side. So, having some sponsors come and give some money so that we can buy some drinks, so that we can get a nicer space and all those things. Um, it made a huge difference for us. And so we
Well,
want to make sure we thank
they
them.
pretty much picked up the tab for the whole thing this year, so hats off to that. That really helped grow the. In the past we had smaller meetups and smaller groups. It really grew pretty large this year, and we tried to have the sponsors take care of everything. So, Jose, you want to go through the list? We had
Yeah.
6S Partners, right?
Yep.
Which
Six.
you and I have some history there. Great group up there in
Yeah.
Canada, right?
Yeah. Great folks. Both Brian and I used to work with them for them. They're great guides, Epicor partners. They have been around for a long time. So we appreciate the participation. We also had our returning sponsor who has really sponsored us now, I think 4 or 5 years in a row, even in smaller venues. EBIS charged, Victoria and Matt, they have been amazing. They have a really nice product. So we appreciate them, sponsoring us and continuing to engage with our community for sure. We had a couple of newcomers this year too. We have Blue Sky ERP. We met those guys through their BI tool, their Power BI tool that they integrate or connect to Epicor. a while back, and they've been really really nice to work with. I played with their tool, really nice tool, and they really wanted to participate and get engaged in the community. So they also became a sponsor this year, and we thank them for their participation.
Yeah, we've known them for a while too, just through the forum and just interacting at Insights. So they're a great
Yeah,
group as
great
well.
group of guys. They're
Yeah.
super active on the EUG. They're starting to get more active in our community. They're active on LinkedIn, everywhere. So look them up, give them a shout. And last but not least, we have Partrap, who also is a new sponsor this year. Um, and they came through for us and helped us sponsor. And so we're very thankful for all our sponsors.
Those they also contribute to the event a little bit, not just financially, but Partrap and eBiz, their marketing teams got together and did all the signage and the table
Yeah,
cards for us and everything else, and really kind of up the level. And you and I got to take some nice photos with Kevin and Tim with
yeah,
with our logos on those banners that were printed behind us, and that looked pretty slick. So we
yeah.
got a
That
little
was really
branding.
nice. I think
Next year, someone
Partrap
will
took
bring a
care of that.
microphone,
Yeah.
and that will be better, right? But yeah,
Yeah, we were supposed to have a nice microphone setup. It's unfortunate that it didn't work out that well, but I think overall it was fantastic. Like you said, the signing, the signage, the table cards, those were all donated by the sponsors. So that was really, really nice. They also donated some giveaways. Again, something that we have not really been able to do before. We had an iPad giveaway, I think, from Ibis Charge. We had a couple of gift cards from Success. We had a few backpacks and things like that that we gave away from EpiUsers in general. But overall, I think it was a fantastic event, and I hope everybody enjoyed themselves. And we're looking forward to doing something similar next year
yeah, it's a fun night. That was
for
a fun
sure.
night for sure.
All right. So, what did you think about the conference this year? Did you have any takeaways? Anything that impressed you, or
Sure. I mean, besides all the networking and getting to see everyone else and, the fun that we get to have there, getting back down to what did we go there to learn? There's a couple of sessions that I always go to. The roadmap ahead in manufacturing is one of my favorite sessions, right? And then some of the things that they show on the big stage, right? So for me, I really enjoyed seeing where Kinetic is going in the browser and the improvements that they made there. We can talk about some of the changes there that are getting rolled out. I also I think you and I have talked about how this feels a little bit like the year of ECM at Insights. There was a lot there. So what did you're an ECM user and you found a lot of things that were baked in there, some new stuff. What did you find?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what's interesting is we've been using ECM as our document repository now at Stephen Gould for 4 or 5 years, but just as a document repository. And recently this year we started implementing their AP automation solution, and we just went live with that on June 1st. And so we're very new to it, but we've been playing with it and developing it and working with it for a few months. And so I really wanted to get a better understanding of what ECM can offer. And I actually was blown away by the power of that platform. I didn't realize that, it's a full document management lifecycle product. It can do approvals, it can do expirations, it can integrate with DocuSign, it can do automation, it can do so much more than I thought it could. And so I actually came back and I have like 18 new projects that I want to take on, from employee onboarding to NDAs to contract negotiations. All that stuff can be done directly in ECM and then integrated into Epicor. And I just had no idea about that. So I think it's a very powerful product and a fantastic tool that we were actually underutilizing. So looking forward to adding more to that pretty
It's
quickly.
certainly got a lot of functionality. One of the things that I found at Insights is I think it was the last session of the conference, and
Yeah.
the
Oh
person who
yeah.
was presenting, I think the AV guys were like kicking him out as the session was ending. And the room was packed, right? The dynamic documents, and
Yeah.
you know how that worked. And he did a nice demonstration. He kind of focused on quality, right, and how. I don't go too deep into the solution, but really how you can configure Word and Excel to do a lot of the capture of certain data points instead of building out inspection plans. And this was really something I thought that QA teams could really manage themselves. I brought it up to our QA team, and they want to see a demo of it already. So they were pretty excited about the idea of how that works. And a lot of us are doing a lot of QA outside the system and attaching it back in. That automates a lot of that. So it was pretty slick. I thought that was a great solution.
Yeah, I was actually sitting in that session too, and I was sitting next to Joe's, and he said he owns it, and he said, it's a great little feature that is very little, it's not very well known. Even the presenter was like, we released this actually like 4 or 5 years ago, and like there was like very little uptake.
Yeah.
Um, and then he presented it, and we were all like this is actually super useful. And I was immediately thinking about other ways in which we could use it, like to capture signatures. We do, proof of delivery stuff. We do a bunch of other things, and like to capture document information. Again, we have ECM, but being able to type into a Word document into a nice form and have that data captured in Epicor as data that can then be queried, printed, reported on. It just seemed like a really, really useful tool. So that's another feature that I agree was a standout for me. And it was like you said, the last the last session of the conference in a tiny little room, all the way up 3 floors of stairs, and that room was completely packed, which was surprising.
I think the presenter's flight was like an hour after that. He was like, "Gotta go, guys. I'm out of here." We had all these questions for him. He answered a bunch, and he's turning off his laptop, and out the door he went. And like, but it was actually one of the better sessions of the conference. So hopefully next year they put him earlier, and a lot of people can get a little more recognition out of it. So
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah.
absolutely. Obviously we got to get to the elephant in the room, the AI stuff, but I really liked also the Grow plan, that, their plan for the Grow product, right? The Grow platform, the data lake, all that stuff. It looked really, really excited. I am looking forward to getting more in-depth knowledge about that because we have a huge BI push right now. We're doing everything in-house, but I am already looking forward to having a real data lake behind a product like Grow, being able to connect multiple data sources to it. It looked like a really, really powerful solution. Obviously, they threw some AI in there, which, I'm on the skeptical camp, okay? But overall, I thought that the plans moving forward for Grow made it a pretty big potential for us and other customers to be able to bring that in and start using it as a huge data platform, not just for Epicor products, but bringing in sources from your CRMs and everywhere else.
Right.
So I thought that the Grow plan there seemed like a really solid one.
Epicore's demoed a couple of times where they want to have interaction between users and Epicor, and now they push it as a little bit more AI. Last year it was a little more just general chat, ask a question, type it in, like the replacement for Eva, and they showed how users can ask Epicor for, what are my on-time delivery statistics for last month, and it kind of just builds that chart for you, where Jose, we're managing Epicor, working with Epicor. You get a lot of these one-time requests for data. Do I need this as a dashboard? Do I not? And sometimes, it becomes a dashboard later, but people ask for these little data sets once in a while as they have a presentation they're giving or they're just curious on things. And so I think that the interaction with where this AI model is going to end up going, and just the ask Epicor for these things. And if the data sets aren't complicated, hopefully you can just ask Epicor and get these things back, and just honestly, it just empowers users to be able to do this without needing IT to do these simple things for them, right? So,
Yeah, no, that definitely looked like a huge improvement there. So I'm looking forward to those changes. I went to talk to them and they said, yeah, a lot of these changes are upcoming, safe harbor kind of stuff, but they showed me some stuff and I was really excited about it. And of course, there was the Prism demo, right? We all saw it at the keynote. We saw it later at the booth, right? Integrating AI directly into the ERP of action or system of action, as they called it. I have, and we've talked a little bit, about this, like AI and I are not friends, right? Like I appreciate the power that's there. I just think that a lot of places and a lot of people are trying to use this tool for the wrong thing, right? They're trying to use it for magic, and I just don't think it's not magical, right? It's a tool that can be used side by sides to improve your workflow, in my opinion, but it's not magic. And I do like that. I think Epicor took that a little bit to heart, right? It's a tool that can work with you
yeah,
to make some changes, right? But I didn't see any point in which they asked the tool to be magical, to do some magical thinking, right? It was very much like, hey, I noticed that something is unusual, or I noticed that something needs to be done. Here's a suggestion. Would you like to take that suggestion? And by the way, here are the results that you can then edit, modify, and change, right? I
right.
really, really like that approach, and I hope that they continue down that route. Because I've played with these LLMs enough, and I'm sure so have you, and it's just, again, there's a huge potential. We are like years ahead of where we were a little bit ago, but it's still very much a you know well-educated parrot, right? It can replicate, it can redo things, but it isn't magic. And I do like that Epicor treated it a lot less as a magic black box and a lot more as a tool that can help you do things that you would normally already do, but do them a little faster, a little more efficiently. So I am looking forward to where they're going with that for sure.
Absolutely. I really liked how it just empowers non-technical users who don't have time to learn how to be technical. and you don't want to wait for things. It really just enabled them to just talk to Epicor, right, and get information back summarized. Um, they even did some customizations on the screen. I remember looking at you and Josh's face as they're doing that, and I was like, "Oh, look at them! They're having fun with this right now, like in disbelief, right?" But just adding row rules to dashboards and things like that. Now, it made me a little nervous because I like to have all my customizations well documented and what they do and how they work.
Yeah.
And if users can just kind of interact there and ask it to change things, I was a little nervous, but we'll manage around that. But yeah, I really thought that it really helps. The Epicore's message this year is not just the system of record, but the system of action. I think it really lets people interact a little better and get more actionable data and
Yeah,
enhance their
absolutely.
productivity. Yeah.
Yeah, just today we were having a conversation about different problems we were having into our system, and one of the things that we keep running into is, duplicate invoices, where Epicor will not let you enter a duplicate invoice, AP invoice, right? If it matches perfectly, right? If I enter invoice 123, Epicor will stop me and be like, "Hey, that vendor already has invoice 123. You should want to check that." But we have a lot of instances in where the invoice number or the stuff is off by just enough that the system will let you put it in, right? And I think, I was thinking about AI or Prism, and I was like, this would be a great tool to do something like fuzzy matching logic or something like that, where it could say, "Hey, I notice you're entering this invoice. It looks remarkably similar to this other invoice over here. It's not the same invoice number, but maybe it has the same vendor and the same amount and the whatever, right?" And again, it's a tool that runs besides you that helps you accomplish something, but it's not magic. And so I don't know. I'm really excited about the future of it, and we'll see where it goes. We've been having some conversations with Epicor and with other people. We're going to try and get some guests in this season of the podcast that can maybe give us a little more insight as to where they're headed. So I'm really, really looking forward to those conversations, and hopefully we can get to see a little bit of a more interactive demo pretty soon.
Yep. I like that they were pretty honest about where it is in its development stage too. Be
Yeah,
skeptical. It's something we're building to help empower the users, not just replace everyone. I think they had a quote in there that I really liked that said AI isn't going to replace users, but it's going to replace the users who don't embrace AI and use the tool,
yeah,
right? So it makes software easier to use. That's how I look at it right now. And just, man, I use it to summarize a lot of emails and rewrite things, and I throw things in ChatGPT and say, hey, just rewrite this for me. And, get my bullet points in there and say, make this look pretty. And usually comes back pretty good. Still to read it, still check its work.
yeah. No, I use it. I
Yeah.
use it every day. We use Copilot, like GitHub Copilot. My entire staff and development has access to Copilot when we're writing code, right? It just gives you a little bit of an edge. It makes you faster. It makes you better. But yes, you have to watch out. You have to see what it's doing.
Yep.
It's again, it's a tool, and we have to use it correctly. But I think Epicor is one of the few places that I've seen that is actually using it correctly. Um, Speaking of AI, actually, for the forum, we are just experimenting now with enabling some AI functionality on the forum. Um, we're not sure how far it's going to go. We're playing with it a little bit, and if somebody's interested in looking at it with us, we can probably take a couple of participants there to play with it. It's another one of those things that I'm not really sure how useful it is on something like the forum. Um, but yeah, we have that coming up too.
Yeah, the summarize the post button was pretty slick. That function we had to disable. We had some performance issues this week, so we had to turn off the beta test. But going through that, I actually asked it to summarize my interactions on the forum, and it came back and showed me some of the more popular posts that I had. But then it also gave me a summary of like I asked it to rate my Epicor skill set, and it came back with the areas of focus that most of my responses are in. And it didn't highlight technical responses because I usually don't, but it highlighted the operational, some of the finance, and some of the high level solutioning and that kind of thing. And so it was pretty interesting. I compared it to Brandon's too, and his skill set result came back very different than mine, and more technical focused. So
Yeah, yeah, it's a fun tool to play with.
yeah,
We may turn it on, we may not. It depends on what we see. We'll take some beta testers. If somebody's interested, just let us know. We'll give you access to it and let you play with it a little bit. There's a cost factor there. There's also, again, how useful is it going to be? One of the things that we've always been very careful with the forum is that, if you're going to have an interaction in the forum, if you're going to ask a question, right? Don't go on a private message and ask me directly. Like go on the forum and ask a question, because everybody can benefit from that, right? And
right,
that's one of the things that I don't know how I feel about these AI tools, because as it is, you can chat with the AI tool in the forum, ask it questions. It maybe can answer those questions, and then that interaction is kind of lost and not really exposed to everyone else, right?
right,
Because and so that's one of those things that we have to balance out and see where we're going to go with it. But we're making enhancements. We're upgrading the forum this weekend, so um, or not the forum, but the server, because we had
Yes.
quite a bit of an influx of new users and new activity there, and our server is kind of been limping along for a while. So we're going to have to get that upgrade done, and
Yeah.
hopefully by Monday or Tuesday we'll be in a better place where it won't be a struggle to search for a post.
I think as a nice segue from our insights recap and just kind of finish that off, the amount of new users that sign up every year at Insights, we see before Insights and then right after Insights, we see a big spike in new users, right? And we have some stats on the site, and we can see page views and logged in users and anonymous users and crawlers. We can see all that. We have, I think, 10% increase in logged in users since Insights, and
Yeah.
that's why we're seeing some of the performance issues on the site right now. So it's time to do some maintenance on the back end of it, and we'll do that this weekend. But we're seeing a lot more usage on the site, which is great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know. Like I said before, I'm looking forward to getting some interactions more on the other products too, right? We're heavy kinetic, but I would love to see P21. I don't think that they have a huge presence anywhere else. I've had some people from P21 ask, hey, can you guys add a P21 category? And we're like, we already have it. You just gotta come and use it, right? So
Yep. We've
looking
also,
forward
Jose,
to
we've
that.
started to break out some of those third-party modules that are also shared with P21, and so
Yep.
we're picking up some users because of that. So it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. ECM, we have a category for them now. We have a category for uh, the configurator. I forgot the name of it now. The
Yep.
configurator tool. Um, so yeah, we're definitely making changes there.
Yep. So at the conference, you also helped organize the EpiUsers presentation session that we do each year.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about some of the solutions that were presented and highlight some of the users?
Yeah, absolutely. Every year Epicor graciously gives us a couple of slots to present with our user community. It's a great way to have other people that maybe are not, confident enough to do a full hour presentation, to give them that exposure, right? Because it gives you your feet wet, but it allows you to be kind of, I don't want to say coddled, but it allows you to be, coached and helped through and give you a smaller exposure there. And a lot of people that have presented in the past in our panel have gone to do full presentations later on, right? And we always know, at least I always say when I go to the insights, the best presentations are always the customer-led presentations, right? Because yes, I can learn, how to use the tool from Epicor, fine, but there's nothing like being out there in the real life dealing with real problems, right? And seeing the ingenious ways in which some of these other users solve these problems, right? So this year we had four different presenters from four different companies do the sessions with us. We had Simon Hall from Poly Air Conditioning Products. He did a bartender integration presentation, which I actually found quite interesting. I didn't realize a bartender had two different APIs that you can interact with, two different services. One was a RESTful, one wasn't. So there was a lot of information there that really, really helped. Right now, we are using bartender all the time. We use PCID functionality, as you well know. And we're using that, the old school like file monitor that just sucks the files in, right? And one of the things that I immediately added to my to-do list was like, hey, let's turn this into a RESTful interaction so we can get a faster printout. Because right now you
Right.
have to wait, 5-10 seconds before that label spits out. And 5-10 seconds is not that long until you're doing that all day long, right? And then it becomes a problem. So I really, really appreciated his
Right. And you're
presentation. I really
printing
enjoyed
how many pallet labels a day? 5, 6,000
it.
at
Yeah,
least? Yeah.
exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So 5-6 thousand times, 3 or 4 seconds a piece, it adds up, right?
Yep.
And again, this is across our company, 42 plants, whatever, right? But still, it's a significant amount of time that people were waiting for a label to spit out of a printer when you don't have to. So I really, really enjoyed and I appreciated that insight I did not know about. We also have Michael Bailey from Innovative Automation, and he presented on a pretty cool script that he wrote in C Sharp, which allows the automatic setup of a new company. As you know, setting up a new company in Epicor is quite cumbersome. There's accounts, there's GL setup, there's control codes, there's a bunch of settings and setup that needs to be done for each company. It's quite cumbersome. Some of us have done it using the MT playlists, but even that is not great. So he wrote a pretty cool script that is easily configurable and runnable, and it can even be used over and over again if you make a mistake or have to undo. So it was a really, really cool concept and a very cool way to automate a process that is quite cumbersome within Epicor. We had Sean Adams from Novia Group. They presented on their Shopify integration with Workato. That was really, really cool. We use Workato pretty heavily. They do too. They presented on that quite a bit at other times, but I was really impressed by the number of tasks and transactions that they were able to run through that system. I forgot what the number was, but it was an insanely high number of transactions they were pushing through Workato. Um, and again, I use Workato all the time. We use it internally here, but I didn't realize the volume that you could push through there without much issue. So I really appreciated that presentation too.
That's a great tool. I'm not using it
Yep.
right now, but I mean, it was with helping you guys put that together for some of the initial things they were doing, some of those integrations with those customer portals. It's pretty slick.
It is. What I love about it is that almost anything that I can think of. We just had an Anaplan, which is another tool that is a financial planning tool, and they're like, "Oh, we wanna potentially buy this product," and immediately, what did I do? I just opened up Epicor Integration Studio, and I look Anaplan. Is it there, right? Because if it is, that's an extra 100 points towards that product versus a different product, right? Because then we don't have to manually integrate these two tools
Right.
together. And it was in the list, and I was like, fantastic. Now, figure out if this tool you want, but from an IT standpoint, from an integration standpoint, you've made my life a lot easier. And so Workato is, again, one of the integration studio is one of the best tools that Epicor has put out in a long, long time, in my opinion. We also had Devin Drager from Century Equipment. He talked about his conversion to Kinetic UX. I thought it was interesting to see, how he was able to take the entire organization uplift to the web. We've been struggling with that ourselves now for a couple of years. We have a couple of plants that are using it, a couple that are not. Like it's been a slow going, and I think it's time for all of us collectively to get there. Much to, as much as we've been dragging our feet and trying to get there, collectively, I think, it looks like it's time. It looks like the UI is getting ready. It's pretty good now, right? So I think it's good to see that there's people that are able to, I have seen a lot of people that have been using the web interface fully, but it was always cloud customers that started there, right?
Right.
And I saw a lot of that, like, oh, we love it, it's fine. I'm like, yeah, but you've never had the other one, right? So it's kind of hard to compare. But now we're seeing people like Devin and a couple of other companies that are like, listen, no, we did make the switch. It's okay. We are okay, right? And it's really put us on a path to finish our implementation and to just start heading in that direction more aggressively.
All right. We're working on that now too. And I did present on that as well.
Yep.
Devin had some good points in there that I didn't have in mind. There's a lot of presentations this year. I think Epicor kind of focused on um, that change management of getting folks to adopt the cloud. Mine was very heavily focused on the change management piece of that and getting us stubborn, long, Epicor users to start embracing that change and start learning the new development tool because it's mature now. I mean,
Yeah.
we've spoken to Epicor about that. We had a session with Bryan Connor a couple of years back when we started doing the podcast about how that was rolled out and 2020 looking back, but the product's very mature now, and I'm very comfortable with it now. So
Yeah.
we're
Yeah. No,
getting
it's
better at it.
time. It's time, and I
Yep.
really appreciate getting shown that, hey, we made it, we're okay, right? We are
Yep.
running our business, nothing fell apart, right? Because it's like anything, right? Change is difficult, and you've done sessions in change management. I've done sessions in change management. It doesn't matter how good do you think you are at adapting to change. Who moved my cheese is still a very much a real thing. So I was excited to see that. And last but not least, we also had Kevin Lincecum from Mid South Extrusion. He presented about his access control system that he built on top of Epicor. And I just think, I like to see unusual use cases for the tooling in Epicor, right? That's always
Right.
one of my favorite things to do is like, oh, did you know? Like last couple of years ago, I presented on, this was actually your idea on using the Siri shortcut to print a Siri shortcut on a phone to print a document from Epicor, right? And I worked on it and presented on it. And it was one of those things that like I would have never thought. Just ask my phone, hey, can I get a copy of my AR receivables or whatever? And it worked. It was unusual. It was cute, right? And I do like seeing things like how can you use the tooling in Epicor and your ERP as a source of truth to also manage other parts of your business, like in this case, opening and closing doors and preventing people from going into manufacturing areas when they don't have access to manufacturing and things like that. So that was a really cool presentation too.
Yeah. And how he replaced a legacy system that was giving him fits. So
Yeah, Yeah.
Kevin makes
Um,
everything fun too. So you're sitting there and you're like, door control? How does this play in Epicor? But he really focused on how the solution came about and how he just used Epicor to solve a problem and didn't really talk much about the door controls, but just
right.
how he built that in Epicor. So it's pretty slick.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we always appreciate the presenters on the panel. Next year we're going to see if we can do something a little bit different. Not sure if we're going to do the panel per se like it is, or maybe we'll do a stump the chump, or we'll do a competition. Maybe we'll put out a challenge a couple of months ahead and say, hey, solve this challenge in your own way, and then we'll have 5 or 6 people that can present their solution, and we'll do like a vote thing who solved it better and why. Or we can, it would be cool to see like different ways to solve the same problem, right? Solve it in the web UX, solve it in Classic, solve it using functions, solve it using BPM, solve it using Workato, right? So we'll come up with something a little different, maybe, or we'll do the panel again, depending on on where we are and how busy everyone else is. It always sounds, we always have these ideas. We come back from insights, right? We're energized, we're ready to take on the world, and then life and the real problems come to life, and then we have to go
Back
back
to
and
work.
back to
Yeah.
work.
So Jose, you touched in the beginning of this when we talked about the users presenting
Yeah.
and getting them comfortable presenting. I know in the past that we've coached a few people through the nervousness and it's their first time in front of a room. And I remember the first time I got into an Insights presentation, I was kind of terrified and worked through that. And now I love it, right? But
Yeah.
we did talk about giving the opportunity to coach through or mentor some of the folks that maybe want to present on something that they built and they think it might be fun to present on it,
Yeah.
and coaching them through some of that presentation. So next year, if we do a presentation style thing, or if we just include any of those, if anyone is interested in this and somewhat hesitant because there's a lot of people in the room, whatever it is, whatever your fears are, we're actually happy to start coaching some people through that. And you and I talked about that this year with
Yeah.
Josh, and hopefully we get some new users up there and get them over some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a scary experience, right? I started going to Insights in 2007, and we talked about this recently, right? So that's I think 17 years, and I have never missed one except the one that everyone missed. And I started presenting in 2008, and I remember the first presentation I gave was super nerve-wracking, right? You're in front of these people, bunch of strangers. You don't know who, it's just it's a very, very intimidating thing to be at. Now I love it. I enjoy doing it. I'm comfortable with it, right? But it takes practice. It takes time. It takes building up that thick skin, so to speak, and that presentation voice and all those things. Being able to confidently speak about something without the fear of somebody going, hey, why did you do this? That happens to me all the time in presentations. Why did you choose this, right? And does it mean I'm right? No, but you have to be able to confidently answer those questions and understand that it's okay that people have different opinions, right? So yeah, definitely somebody's interested in presenting, whether that's in the panel or just in general presenting at the conference and you're not confident, you're not comfortable, reach out. We're more than happy to coach you through, work with you. Because Epicor is always looking for new speakers and again, like I said, the user presentations are always the best.
Absolutely.
Um,
They know it
always,
too.
always the best.
They know it
Yeah,
too. They encourage us to do it.
yeah, Epicor knows it, right? So looking like really looking forward to that for sure next year. Um, the other thing that came out of Insights that was a little contentious on the forum was the browser first experience that's potentially coming to 2024.2, right? And as Tim and Carmen explained it, they're trying to kind of force people, and maybe force is not the right way, but encourage people to go to the browser first, and that means that they want to take away the login screen from the classic screen and move the login experience to be fully browser based. So you just launch the browser, go to Epicor, log in, your menus in the browser, and from there you can still access all your classic screens and everything else, right? Um, that was a little contentious, not at the conference so much because I think a lot of people didn't quite, the conference fog, but afterwards there was a couple of like, oh my gosh, please don't take away my my classic client so quickly, right? Because it was just 2024.2, which is the next release that's coming up in October. um, Now Epicor has participated on the forum actively. Tim, Bryan, Bob, like they've all been on the forum. They looked at it, they said, hey, don't worry, we'll make sure that we listen to you guys. They're going to do something about it. But I do think that as a community, as much as we sometimes struggle with change, we need to try to embrace some of these things. Um, the tooling needs to be in place, right? So there was some concerns on the forum about, well, it takes a long time to launch the classic form and things like that. So, I understand that personally. And I don't know how you feel. You're about to go on the cloud. You're about to go fully web-based. So I'm sure you have some opinions on this too. But, you know, um, I don't know. I do appreciate that Epicor came along and said, listen, we hear you and we'll come up with a better plan, right? And they're going to do an empathy session where they listen to what we have to say. And I'm sure they'll come up with a solution. But I do think that as a community, we need to you know, start embracing this a little more. And it starts with us. It starts with some of the leaders in the community, some of the leaders in the forums, EUG. It's okay. It will be okay, right? They're not going to do something that doesn't let us use the software because we have to run our businesses with it, right? So I think that Epicor is well aware of that, and I don't think that they're going to say, okay, well, we're turning everything off. Good luck. They know that wouldn't work. So I think we'll have the support we need when we get there. But it was definitely an interesting point coming out
Yeah,
of the conference.
for us, cloud and browser, it's hitting home well with our users. They're no VPN, right? Just
Right.
web page. Epicor is just a web page now, right? And how easy that is to access on any device, right? I mean, try it on your phone. It'll load, but
Well,
order
listen,
entry on your phone, I'm not sure, but sure, customize it if you
it
want to and make
works.
it work. But it does work, right? And so now we have a lot of Mac users too, and so that's going to be a little easier for them. But really, I mean, what it came down to for us is the browser so much faster, right? And so
Yeah.
that's where our users looked at that. We're not heavily customized, to be honest. I know where you're at with that, but we're not heavily customized, and so that uplift isn't terrible. But it's a lot of dashboards. We have to pretty much rebuild a lot of those and redesign some of those so the way the screens are laid out and get folks familiar with that. But we're, just to talk a little bit about our adoption there, we're using a lot of that Epicor education. You go to the cloud, you get the Education Learning Center, it's called. And that really, some of those self-paced videos really help some users get through that and stuff too. So talking to some other folks and some of our friends in the education team, they're really trying to make some improvements there to help us get through it.
Yeah. No, I think it'll be fine. We'll try to get somebody from Epicor to come on the podcast and talk a little bit about that approach once that becomes more solidified. I think that there was a little bit of a reaction from some of the users, but I think overall, you know, we gotta get there together.
Right.
It's time to embrace that change. So, anyways, I think great conference this year. Great to see you in person as always.
Always,
Yeah, and
as
I'm
always.
excited about season two. It took us
Yeah.
about a year to get back to season two, but you know, life gets in the way, right? This isn't our full-time job.
Yes. Yeah, the real
So,
job did get in the way for a little while,
yeah.
but hopefully we get this going, do some more episodes, and we'll get some of the folks from Epicor on here. We talked about having some of the user community members jump on here with us too if they want to talk through something. We've also had some topic suggestions around, some product comparisons and just, there's a lot of different financial reporting tools and BI tools and, constructive, positive feedback on how you've used some of these things, and maybe we can get some users just kind of talk through how they use things and you know
Yeah.
maybe some technical demos too. We talked about doing some short things there too.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit of how to's. Again, some of those customer presentations, right? Not to toot our own horn, but Brandon did an amazing presentation on BAQs, right? And I think, he posted to the forum last year one he did the year before, right? But having, expert citizens, right? Citizen experts present and give some, tips and tricks and things like that, I think it'll be a great benefit. I also just sometimes just like to know, what the company's doing. How are you using the product, right? How are you being creative around, the limitations, and it just helps get everybody else kind of in the same sentiment. So I'm really looking forward to the next episodes. Like you said, we have a couple of Epicor people that have tentatively agreed to come in and have a couple of conversations with us. So we are excited about that. But yeah,
So yeah,
not a
be
bad
fun.
first episode for us season two.
Yeah, that's great. Jose, these are fun. I enjoy it. I always enjoy speaking with you. We don't get to do that as much as we used to, but it was definitely good to catch up with you and Josh and Brandon and everybody else at Insights. That was a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to next year. I'm always looking forward to next year. So we always have something kind of like
Yeah.
a Jets fan. We're always looking forward to next year. But Insights was great this year. I really didn't feel there was too much salesy stuff focused in there. The AI, I think they were, optimistic, cautiously optimistic, or skeptical about,
Yeah.
how it can help. But I did like what I saw. I see the product improving. And I really, they don't spell it out so much on stage in some of the bigger demos, but they really are putting money back into the product.
Yeah.
And so, where's that development time going? But they really are moving the product forward. So I'm happy to see that.
No, absolutely. And you know what? The other point that Steve Murphy made on the stage, which I was really glad he made it, is that they are not going away from their offerings on premise, right?
Right.
He made that 100% clear. He said, we are a cloud company, but we're also whatever you want us to be. And I love that because we've had a bunch of people saying, oh no, they're going to go cloud only, this and that and the other. It's like Epicor has over and over again for the last few years doubled down on that concept. We are what you need us to be. You need us to be cloud? We're cloud. We are cloud and we're cloud first. But if you need something else, that's there too. And so I really, really like that.
Right.
That reassurance for some of us who are not cloud yet, right? I want to be cloud. I want to get there. I just need a little more, right? And the fact that they're saying, hey, you can continue to doing what you're doing. We'll continue to support you. We'll continue to enhance the product. But we're here if you want to go cloud, right? And I like that. I like that quite a bit.
Yeah, me too.
Anyways, good to see you, bud.
Good to see you too, Jose. We'll get the next session rolling out as soon as we get this one posted.
Sure.
So more news on that coming. But nice to see you, buddy. And thanks for making some time on a Friday.
All right. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Thanks.
We're on a mission, wishing that we can't just help you. Join the team so we can join